Folks, welcome to Chewing the Gristle, the podcast with yours truly, Gregory S. Koch, Esquire, also known as Gregory Kochery in some circles. It's brought to you by our friends at Fishman transducers, if you will. And it features just random conversations with various guitar and music friends, just kind of shooting the breeze or chewing the gristle, if you will. Due to my road work, we're going to stay away from seasons, but we're going to drop these as they become available. We appreciate you tuning in these years. We're going to keep on doing this as long as we can, folks. If you're enjoying them, we're enjoying them. Can you dig it? Let's chew the gristle. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we've gathered yet around the gristle fire for another installment of Chewing the Gristle. This week we have the amazing Seth Lee Jones from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He is an amazing slide guitar player, Tele manipulator, and luthier. And his videos online will scald your brain. This week on Chewing the Gristle, Seth Lee Jones. Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again, we've gathered round the gristle fire for some convivial guitar talk, music talk, human talk. That's right. And today, as a special guest, Seth Lee Jones, guitar prestidigitator, wizard, if you will, from beautiful Tulsa, Oklahoma, wielding the Telecaster it's got some devices on it, slide, crazy sounds. I dig it all. We've had a chance to jam together a bit and to hang together a little bit down there in Tulsa. I thought it'd be fun to have him join us here on the old Gristle Hour. The Gristle Hour. I don't know if that's what it's called. Seth, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great, man.
Excellent. It's good to see you. What's happening down there in Tulsa?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just fixing Martins and picking on guitars, you know.
Now, we should discuss this, that you are a luthier extraordinaire. Give us a little idea of what kind of stuff you're working. I mean, I see some of these glorious creations you make for people. How much of your time is spent building guitars for folks versus repairing guitars, et cetera, et cetera?
Oh, majority of what I do is repair. I ought to send Martin and Gibson a Christmas card. I fix a lot of Martins and Gibsons, mainly old ones. And that's what I went to school for. I went to Musicians Institute. They had a luthier program there about 20 years ago that I did. And I worked for Carruthers Guitars and Askin Guitars and Neil Moser very briefly. And I worked for Ron Thorne for a little bit before he was doing the custom shop. And I worked for a guy who made classical guitars. I just really dived into it about 20 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since. So most of what I do is repair, and most of it is vintage and high-end stuff. I build probably 18 or 20 instruments a year from scratch. I used to teach the subject down at Tulsa Wood Arts here. But yeah, most of it's repair. I get it's kind of a 60-40 split, really, you know.
Not to throw anybody under the bus, but you kind of alluded to it, that you should send Gibson and Martin a Christmas card. I mean, again, not to throw anybody under the bus, but when you have these legacy companies, especially at this day and age, and they're pumping out so many guitars, do you find that a lot of these entities leave it up to people on the local front to really kind of dial them in a little bit more? Because I noticed, like, at least, you know, like with Reverend, I mean, they can't afford the hubris, right? I mean, that stuff's got to come into, it's got to be intonated, playing great, and so on and so forth, because they don't have, you know, 60, 70 years or more than that of legacy to draw from. Do you find that to be the case?
I don't know. I kind of feel like it depends on what time of year they're shipping those things.
Yeah, true.
They're really fragile in the sense that they're affected by humidity and heat. What I find, especially with Martins, is they're typically set up for their target demographic, which is bluegrass guys, which prefer a higher action. So when you go to a store, they really need to be moved down to like normal people heights, so that people can play them more comfortably. But yeah, I mean, there is an element of acceptable range that things are sent out on. And I've done consulting for manufacturing companies before, and that's kind of that's a known a necessary evil. High enough where all the notes ring out and they can dial it the rest of the way in when it gets there.
Yeah, that's what I figured, because because when I do those videos for Wildwood, man, I'll tell you what, I get them right out of the box, and there's some days where I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a, this is an $8,000 guitar. It should come playing me,
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I've had one particular instance where we got one out of the case that was a signature model that was going for the artist, and I won't throw the company who did it under the bus, but it was a very expensive guitar, and this thing came out of the case, and one of the frets was smushed into the binding without the tang cut off. So you see the T-shape going through the binding. Oh, holy shit, guys. You sent this to the guy that has his name on the headstock.
Right. And again, we're not throwing these companies under the bus. It's just that when you're making that much stuff, it's like, as you said, there's an acceptable range. And I think that a lot of them have the mentality of, let's get it in that acceptable range. And by the time it meets the end user, I know, like from Wildwood's point of view, they ask the end user, how do you want it set up? And they've got guys on staff that set those things up. And by the time they get to the person, they're like, oh, this is fabulous. This is unbelievable. Oh, yeah. But when I get them out of the case and I have to wrestle them into submission, it's a little more difficult, but that's all right.
Sweetwater's got a guy on track, don't they? Don't they? They've got a setup department, don't they?
They do indeed. They got a couple guys that are great. Three guys actually.
Awesome.
And what's kind of funny, one of the guys there is they refer to him as Old Greg, but he's actually younger than me. So every time I'm out there, it's like, you're no longer old Greg. Look at that kitty cat.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing?
If I don't grab her, she'll be on the keyboard.
Now, which kind is that without the hair on it? What's the name of him?
She's a Sphinx cat.
Sphinx. Awesome.
Yeah. So me and the wife are real allergic. So I'm not allergic to this mongrel.
Well, that's interesting because I am usually very allergic to cats too. And I heard that Bengals are hypoallergenic. And sure enough, we have Bengal cats, and I don't freak out from them, which is good.
Stuff you can feed them now too that makes them less.
That's crazy.
Go on, you.
So let's talk about your playing. It's savage. It's glorious. And I'm so glad to see that so many people online are coming around to your powerful playing and so on and so forth. So tell us a little bit about how you developed your style and what were your influences. And I know that we talked when I was out in Tulsa that you went to MI for Luthier, but there was a lot of those open sessions that you were able to go in on and learn some stuff from some cats. So tell us your journey as far as musical influences and so on.
Well, I mean, just starting with the MI deal, those open counseling sessions, they encouraged you to go to the main building because our campus was a little separate. And I attended the open counseling with Scott Henderson and Carl Verheyen. Yeah. And that was one of those deals where you'd sit in a room with a bunch of guys and you would just listen to them talk, and they had a guitar, but you didn't have one. But it was still really valuable information that I got to learn, especially from Carl, because I went to more of his. We schedule-wise lined up because I kept a full-time 40-hour job while I was going. The whole Bender Tele thing was a complete accident. When I got out of Luthier school, I wanted to build myself a fancy Telecaster, and I did, and I made the neck in Venice Beach where I worked. I worked for Crothers Guitars, and I lived in the valley where it's very dry. So that neck, I fucked it up on accident because I was new at the game. And when I got it home, it was so badly backbowed, even after a couple of heat sets, I couldn't get the thing to sit flat for me to play it standard. So I had played lap steel since I was a kid. And I had these giant lap steel strings. And I was like, screw it. I'll just put these lap steel strings on it and play it until I have time to make another neck. Well, when I did that, I tuned it to open D and I pushed down on those levers that I had put on it. And it went from a 1-chord to a 4-chord. And the light bulb turned on. It was like, oh, this is cool. This is like a pedal steel with frets. So I never set out to make an open D tuned Bender equipped guitar. I had gotten, there was a Brad Paisley article that came out in 2006 in Guitar Player magazine where he was talking about his rig and the McVeigh bender. And I wanted to get one of those McVeigh benders, but I didn't have those kind of pockets back then. So the hip shop bender was like $150 on eBay. I got one of those and then fucked up the neck. So at the same time, I got that Sonny Landreth record, Grant Street.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was, stuck in the car 3 hours a day because, the Valley to Venice is round trip about 3 hours. At least it was 20 years ago. So I had a lot of time to listen to those two records. And it kind of developed out of that as this happy accident, an unaffordability of something, and then getting these two records that were just, mind blowing to me, hearing vendors and hearing all that behind the slide stuff that Sonny does. It just kind of started there and snowballed into what it is today. And I think I got really the most practical on the job training using the bender when I moved back to Tulsa from LA. I played for about 7 years in a country band, and it was like traditional country, like pre-1965, a lot of non-pedal steel, and I from there got into like Lloyd Green and things like that. That's kind of where it started. I fucked something up.
That's always the mother of invention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, talk a little bit about the Tulsa music scene, because of course we know about J.J. Cale and Leon Russell and of course the Clapton's background of Carl Radle and those cats. But there's Tommy Crook, great guitar player, mind-boggling. But there's just a very high level. Speedy West, I think he was from Tulsa, right?
Yeah.
So there's just really a strong musical lineage down there. Talk a little bit about that and how that affected you growing up.
Yeah, and the Eldon Shamblin, Speedy West, Barney Kessel.
Right.
You talk about guys like Carl Radle were from here, and around Tulsa, and Jesse Ed Davis was from Oklahoma. There's just always been quite a bit. Yeah, there's been quite a bit of music here. Just kind of, we're on the halfway point. If you're going to Chicago to Texas, or from Texas to Nashville, we were kind of like a stopping point along Route 66. So inadvertently, we became a hub. There was actually a Fender distribution hub here. So it was still is not uncommon to find Fender instruments that have stayed in people's garages or attics or closets that are some odd duck of distribution days when they were here in Tulsa. Yeah, so there's just always kind of been a halfway point. If you were back in those days, people didn't just jump on airplanes. A lot of people just drove.
Before this, like when you were in high school, there, would you say that there were? I suppose you wouldn't know what to compare it to, but did there seem like there was a lot of musicians of a particular aptitude, or was it, not any more than anybody else kind of our age-ish?
Well, I don't know. I kind of have a blank spot there because I didn't go to high school here. I moved away in 2000, moved to Los Angeles. I was there for 11 years.
Okay.
But I did take lessons here in the early and mid 90s. And there's always been, professional grade musicians. And in fact, when I moved back, I met this fella named Torrey Ruffin, who's played for Morris Day and the Time for ages. And his reasoning for living here was because it was never more than a 3-hour flight from anywhere he had to be for the band, So it kind of works out. The living's cheap and you're not far away from anything. And, it's a decent place to be for that.
I can relate to that. That's why I stayed in Milwaukee. Same rationale. So talk about what you're doing these days. Obviously you're posting a lot of stuff online, but there's some great footage of you and the band playing at the VFW post and elsewhere. And you just seem to have a nice little groove going with all your various different exploits. What's next for you?
Yeah. This week I'm flying out to LA. We're going to do, I've got an interview with Dweezil Zappa.
Nice.
On his podcast, and I'm going to do some videos for Ernie Ball Strings. I got my hat on.
Yeah.
Tone King amps, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to take a walk through the NAMM show, probably on the setup day for, just doing some glad handing with, vendors and exhibitors. And Then I come back to town and get to be in the vicinity of you.
That's correct. We're going to hang out. That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the big room downstairs at the VFW. So that'll be great. I like that room.
Excellent. Well, that'll be fun. We had fun last time I was in town when you sat in. That was a blast.
Yeah. That'll be it. Right. We'll do it again. Maybe you can get in on some of the action with my guys.
I like it. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So
that's all I got going.
What kind of stuff you been listening to these days?
Man, I cannot get away from King's X Records. I've been listening to that stuff since the early 90s, since I was a little kid, and I fucking love King's X, man.
Excellent.
I still go back to that. And it's kind of a weird thing to hear from a guy who plays mostly country and blues. Like Doug Pinnick is like my favorite singer ever.
Nice.
And man, if you listen hard enough, you can hear some of that Ty Tabor stuff in there, particularly with vibrato in the middle strings. Like I just love the sound. Like the chorus sound that he would use, that he had those old like Elite Strats that I don't even know what he was using. He was using those Yamaha amps for a long time, but I'm just stuck on that sound. And I always go back to that Grant Street record. But yeah, I kind of do this thing where I'll get to, Ear Candy or Mr. Bulbous, and then I'll just start over. I'll go back to Out of Silent Planet. But yeah, I've been going back through that stuff again.
So what I find interesting is that I'm kind of the same way too. I listen to a lot of the same stuff over and over again. It's because I love it. I'll get on a kick and just, listen. I'll hyper focus on a person, and that might be somebody from the past, and just listen to that as opposed to like, I'm not really in. I mean, if I see something new online, I'll be into it, and so on and so forth. But it's just so weird how we tend to, focus on the stuff that got us to where we are, and continue to get inspiration from that. So, yeah. So, but I mean, other people are just constantly buying new music and listening to new things and so on and so forth, and it can be a little overwhelming.
Oh man, there's a band. I believe they're out of Scotland. These guys called High Fade. You seen that?
No.
Oh my God.
High Fade?
High Fade.
I got to check it out.
Oh dude, it's like a Scottish funk band, and that guitar player, like there's like some video I saw where he just on dead clean, like hardly any verb at all, just rips this guitar solo with all of these like arpeggiated stuff, and just tore my head off. But the whole band is really, really good. And it's a trio. And man, what a funky nightmare. Oh my God.
Do they sometimes do some stuff outside where they're playing outside?
Yeah, there's some outdoor videos I've seen, but I think they just did a Europe run. But yeah, High Fade. Oh my goodness.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, shredding modern funk music, man. Just like high BPM, like blow your socks right off. Yeah.
Check it out. I'll check it out.
Yeah, man.
So talk about some of the other influences and stuff you've liked to listen to in the past. When you were growing up, were you you mentioned King's X. What other stuff did you like to listen to?
Man, they started me on piano when I was a little kid, and they made me learn all the dead white composers. Yes. And I feel like that's good for you. I later did take classical guitar, but I really wanted to learn Ray Charles tunes. And my piano teacher, God rest her, she was like in her 90s or something. She didn't know any Ray Charles tunes. So, but we got the Boogie Woogie book out and went through that. But yeah, I've always been a huge Ray Charles fan, and I later learned how to do some of his music in open D as well as standard. And transcribing that stuff, I had to get a bit of help to do that. It's a fair amount of work trying to get the right chords, the chords that Ray played in that tuning. They're gettable. You just kind of have to make some adjustments to get there. But yeah, Ray Charles all the way, man. Like I've got that Birth of Soul record. That is in the constant rotation. Yeah. And the country covers one. Oh my God. That one was huge. Man, Little Jimmy Dickens, oddly enough, like he had some really killer guitar players throughout there. There's one that I cover called Bird of Paradise. And I've never been able to get the actual sound on the record, but on the record, there's this echoplex sound that's just like tumbling down, this echoplex sound. May the Bird of Paradise fly up your nose. I love that guy's music. It's it's always fun to play to with that bender too, because you get a lot of like major diatonic and like, stacking little chord stabs of, thirds and fifths that are really fun and that's easy to get to, and it's a joy to play. That stuff is it's like a prerequisite, I feel like, for playing a non-pedal slide.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, have you ever had a chance to hang out with Sonny at all or meet him?
Man, I got to open for him in Eureka Springs a couple years ago, and he was such a sweet man. Really, really impressive to watch him do that stuff and not even break a sweat. I sweat like a Baptist preacher when I play. And that man played notes I didn't know existed and never a drop of sweat. I couldn't believe it. And it was really a bit unnerving because he was like staged right through my whole set. It's kind of like reciting scripture in front of the Pope or something, It really kind of made me nervous. I had to ignore him, But yeah, he was a really sweet guy. A fantastic performance too. It was really interesting, and I had like all this grandeur ideas, like, oh man, I'm gonna get to see that Stratocaster he plays with, he's got the trilogy bridge on his, and he showed it to me, and like, I'm a luthier, I build fine things, man. Like I saw that and was like, wow, what a piece of shit. He makes it sound so good. And you could say the same thing about my guitar. My guitar has probably needed frets for the last 8 years, and I just turned the gain knob up. I can't hear it. But yeah, it was amazing to see his action was fairly high compared to mine. And the trilogy bridge was not very beautifully installed. And it was like a 90s standard Strat that had at one point been Roland equipped, and they just yanked all the Roland stuff and left the holes, and it was like, yeah, this is fine. Okay.
Wild.
But I mean, the truth is, it's in the hands, and I've always believed that. And that dude could play a bucket with, rubber bands on it and still sound like Sonny Landers,
Yeah, absolutely. It's a funny thing. I mean, a lot of what we have to do as musicians, as guitar players these days, is predicated on getting people to buy gear, but as we know, it's all, you don't need it for the actual creation of music. You don't need to have, these extraordinarily expensive items in order to get the sounds. And a lot of the people that, you just referenced, a guy like Sonny Landers, of course, his amps are not cheap. The ones he likes to use are not, whether he's
used a pair of rented deluxes.
Oh, there you go.
And it still sounded good.
Yeah.
I had brought my vintage Super and a Tone King. And I was like, hey, if you want to use these, you can, because I knew where those amps had come from. And I was like, I don't know what shape those are going to be in, because he rented them for him and drove them over. And he's like, oh, I'm good. And he still sounded awesome. It was freakish.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, doesn't
he have a dumble?
He's got a dumble. Then he was using some kind of other little thing that was dumble-esque.
Yeah. I saw him at the Guthrie Green one time, and he brought this little fly head that was a dumble base, and he just rented a pair of twin reverbs and disconnected the whips and plugged that thing into it.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Crazy. Bless him. Yeah, I first saw him, I heard about him when he played with John Hyatt back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the stuff. And then there was a really cool Austin City Limits with him playing. And then I
haven't seen that.
Yeah, with him playing with John Hyatt.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't seen that either. I have to look.
He played the Firebird a lot in a Strat, as I recall. But yeah, that was spellbinding, because in that stretch of time there in the late 80s, early 90s, you had that great John Hyatt record, Bring the Family, with Ry Cooder and Keltner and Nick Lowe. And of course that became Little Village, and they put that record out, and that was awesome.
Jim Keltner?
With Jim Keltner, yeah. And then after
he was an Oklahoma guy, wasn't he?
I think he was, as a matter of fact.
Then there was the other guy, Karstein. That was
Yeah. Opies. Powerful warriors. But then, of course, the John Hyatt record came out. Is it Bring the Family or no, the one where it's just the profile of his head? That was the first record he did with Sonny, and that thing was just infested with delicious.
And Sonny is on a Tulsa sampler from, I think, the late 70s or early 80s that was recorded at Church Studio. Yeah. And there's like 2 or 3 songs that Sonny did on that Tulsa sampler vinyl. And every now and then somebody will post it around here. They'll find one at like a flea market or something. It's real good. I've heard it. And he does like Blues Attack or something like that, or Trouble at Home. I don't remember, but it was all really good. Yeah.
He's a bad man and continues to be a bad man.
Bad
man.
I don't understand the 2 compressors. That was something I saw that he did. I guess Lowell George did that too. I've never tried it.
Yeah, when I met Paul Barrere, and of course, having played with Lowell, and he had to kind of take over for Lowell's parts after Lowell went. They were big compressor guys, and they'd have, like, as you said, 2 of them, and I don't know what they were doing. Although Paul just ended up using one of those Boss compressor sustainer pedals. I think he may have had 2 of them. It's that real squished sound, but it does a thing without.
You gotta mess with that this year for science.
Yes. Yeah, and I guess Lowell used to bring a rack compressor of some sort on the road with his Dumble, and of course Joe Bonamassa has that Dumble now that he had. It's really cool. It's got the cigarette burns on it and whatnot, and
I didn't see it. I actually got to chat with Joe backstage. He was through Tulsa, and he does a lot of business with a friend of mine that owns Guitar House at Tulsa.
Yeah,
and he invited me along to go hang out, and I got to see some of those Dumbles. He didn't have that one with him when he came through, but he had like 3 of them.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I get it. You got the money. You're in a position where you're playing all the time. Let the good times roll. And I suppose if we were all in that situation, you'd be like, yeah, I'll take a Dumble. But to me, it's just.
I mean, as a person who works on these things, man, like most of the time when I see guitars that are 6-figure guitars or above 10K, they're normally owned by people who don't play very much or can hardly play. And they've got deep pockets and they like nice things. That's normally who owns that stuff. And it normally lives in a case or somewhere where it can be a conversation piece. So I really appreciate the fact that he gets that stuff out and uses it.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. No doubt about it.
It's what it was made for.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would, it's, and the thing is about any of that gear, which I know it's like, not all of them were great, but when you play one that's really great, and it's almost better not knowing, you know what I mean? Because you're like, hey, I play what I play, and it's cool and all, and then you'll play something that's magical, that is old, and you're like, oh my God, and it's just like unobtainium, as you said, like an old Les Paul. It's like no one who's not independently wealthy is going to have one, unless, well, I suppose, you could take, a mortgage out, get the mortgage type payment and just pay it off. But the vast majority of people who can really play aren't going to be gigging with an old Les Paul.
Yep.
But when you play that and you realize, oh yeah, there's something. It's almost better not knowing.
Yeah.
So when you've played these old things, has that influenced the way that you make guitars and thinking, now that I've played X, Y, and Z, I've played the really good ones, I've played the not so good ones, and then you will try to apply that, of course, to what you're doing now. And how close do you get, in your opinion?
Well, you can get really close. You can get offensively close if you have the time. I have taken spec measurements of every cool one that I've ever seen. I have a big stack of detailed spec measurements down to like how much gauze each magnet has, like a gauze reading. I've got a buddy of mine that builds slot car motors, and he loans me this meter, and we take really, really accurate measurements of the magnets, their direction, and how much of a charge they have. And then, of course, the coil readings, and I'll go through and spec out the pots and see where the cap's sitting. But yeah, I have documented every good one I've ever handled and meticulously kept records of that. And I do get pretty dang close. There's some things I don't want to repeat. In most cases, particularly with old fenders, which is the style of build that I do, most of the old ones, the neck and body don't fit very well. There's a lot of discrepancy in that fitment. And in most cases, the heels are undersized. So there's things you don't want to reproduce, but, grain orientation, weight, the output of your coils, how much magnet pull you've got, and then, as much and as close as you can get to the material, which, depending on what you're asking about, can be difficult. There's things that you really can't get anymore, and there's things that you have to get from other places. I'll do reclaimed wood. I've done restoration pretty much all of my life. I was doing a bit of furniture restoration with my parents when I was a kid, so I know what to look at when I'm looking at old furniture. So I've actually found old furniture that was made of Brazilian rosewood or good old maple and cut that up and used it to build instruments. So it's out there. You just got to look for it. And every time they're knocking down an old house in my neighborhood, because my neighborhood's real old, all these houses were built in the teens. Every time they knock one down, I'm over there digging through the rubble pile trying to find something, I don't let anything go to waste. But yeah, there's an element of it. You can get really close. And I don't make my own pickups anymore, but there's some guys out there that are doing really, really fine work. I like the Wiz pickups. He makes a really great PAF. And then Sayoko Kuwabara has been making some coils for me for I had her do a rewind on some vintage sets, and she did such a great job that I had her make some for this Tele that I just produced out of an old steel. So speaking of reclaimed, I had a buddy of mine bring me a triple neck steel from 1954 Fender. And on the back of it, it said, "Tear It Up Garrett." And it belonged to Bobby Garrett. So Bobby Garrett played for Ernest Tubbs, Hank Thompson, Ray Price, George Jones. I mean, he played for a lot of the greats from about, 58 to 63 or so. And he had a lot of steels. So I did check around and make sure I wasn't cutting up something that somebody really wanted. But I took that triple neck steel and spent a couple of days resawing it up and making a Blackguard Telecaster body out of it. And I saved 90% of that finish. And I kept on that back where it says, "Tear It Up Garrett." I kept that. But yeah, Sayoko Kuwabara did the coils for that. And my buddy Mark Grant up in Northern California stamped me a really beautiful repop plate for it. And I went through a lot of trouble to make that thing cool. And I've got pictures of that on the Instagram. But yeah, it was like 3 days of work just to get to the body blank stage because I had to be so careful. And when I was done, there was like a fist-sized piece of wood left over. It was white knuckles because you get one shot, I only had one of them. But that's probably the coolest reclaim job I've done ever, But that's in my personal arsenal. I was like, I'm keeping this. This one ain't for sale.
How crazy do you go on relicking guitars that you make?
I mean, it depends on what they want. Because these are all made to order. I make so few of them that I don't ever have any extra stock laying around. So if they want it to look like it sank with the Titanic, I'll do it. There's a whole lot.
Do you ever do something where they'll bring you an old guitar and say, "Make me another one of these"?
Yes, I have had that happen. And, for good reason too. It's like they don't want to take the one on the road that's worth a bunch of money. So we'll make them, something that's close as we can get, And I totally get that. I've got some stuff I would prefer not to drag around if I was going to stick it under an airplane. Because I don't have the pockets to buy it a seat like Joe does.
Exactly correct.
Nor do I have anything that's worth that much to merit that kind of behavior.
Maybe I'll bring my 53 Tele down this when I come down to Tulsa, and you can spec it out, and maybe we'll.
I'd be delighted, man. That'd be a cool thing.
That'd be good, Cliff. I love it. I mean, the only thing that's weird about it is the neck pickup is a little wimpy, but God, it sounds good.
Yeah.
and it's one of these weird things where it's a spray over. There's like a little it's been refretted, but I love it. If it was totally straight, I couldn't afford it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could barely afford it as it was, but I got rid of a lot of stuff to get it about, 13 years ago or so. And, but now I wouldn't be able to afford it,
Oh, I know, they're insane now. Man, and being a 53, what's the weight like on it?
It's really light.
Really?
Yeah.
Because some of those early ones are kind of boat anchors.
Yeah, they can be, but this one's pretty light.
Yeah. And Drew had a broadcaster. He may still have it. He had a broadcaster I saw in the vault that was like, I guess as a broadcaster, that'd be a 50, right?
Yeah, or 49. Yeah.
Oh God, and it was like Les Paul territory. How heavy it was, and the neck was so weird. It was just massive, like a U shape, just
really big old neck,
split in half. Yeah, it was a trip.
That's so crazy.
And I like a big neck. I mean, the one on mine's big. I think I'm 990 at the first fret or something like that, almost an inch. But this thing,
like a big neck too. It's changed over the years a little bit. I just kind of like whatever neck now. But I think the largest neck I've ever played on a Tele was. Did you ever play Bill Kirchin's Tele?
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance, if Bill Kirchin comes through town, just check out that guitar. I think it's someone in New York who makes it out of reclaimed wood.
Oh, right. I read about that. It's got like a Douglas fir neck on it or something, right?
I'll tell you what, that neck is massive.
Wow.
It is.
I think they have to be to maintain their rigidity because they're making it out of some conifer species. It's some old pine.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I find that I always preferred bigger necks. And then as I got older, I've never had any hand problems in terms of carpal tunnel or any of that kind of stuff. But I find that when I play a bigger neck now, because the necks on my Reverends are not huge, and even on my, the 55 Wildwood 10 Tele that I have, the neck's a little bigger, but it's not massive. But if I play a real bigger neck, I will get a little discomfort when I'm, stammering around the neck. So I've kind of just come to the conclusion that maybe at this point, stick to the smaller profile. Why cause pain? Have you been good with hands? Do you have any problem with any of this kind of?
I can't hold a pick anymore. I've ruined this knuckle from all the fretwork, and I can't hang on to a pick anymore, so I use a thumb pick.
Oh, there you go.
So what I did to get around it, though, is I cut that thumb pick so short it just barely sticks out past my thumb.
Got
it. I hold it like I did my Jazz 3s. And it kind of ended up being a double-edged sword in a good way, because if you look at the way my bender works, it's shaped like the cup of your hand. And when you're rolling in with your palm to push down the F sharp and the A lever, it would be almost impossible to pick that chord, that triad with a normal pick. Because I've got my thumb free of the action of pushing those down, I can still hit those and walk in traffic. Without doing that, I don't think I would be able to achieve near the speed that I can get with it. So it's actually worked out in my favor.
Mm-hmm. Happy accidents. I have noticed that I have one of my Gristle Masters is outfitted with, I can't remember the spacing it, but the French guy that makes the dual lever bridges.
Sertano.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I've got those on that, but that's the same thing. I can't use it if I pull the pick. Yeah. I got to be finger picking, so I can see where having a thumb pick would alleviate that problem.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I think I always like to say that if I was starting over from scratch, I'd start with a thumb pick, because just the amount of, when you take your first finger out of commission because it's holding the pick, you've kind of lost your best ally.
Sure. And did Chet use a thumb pick?
Chet did, yeah. Chet and Jerry Reed and Merle Travis and all those cats. And so,
Lenny Bro.
And Lenny Bro as well, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
All those frightening sons of bitches, they all used a thumb pick.
The Lenny Bro documentary is terrifying. Watching his harp stuff. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
I've
crazy.
never been able to do that effectively.
I could do it a bit, but not just crazy. Like, and Tommy Emmanuel, of course, has taken that stuff and it has grabbed that whole. Yeah. I'll never forget the first time I saw Tommy Emmanuel play. We were on this Fender bill at a NAMM show in probably 1996 or something like that, somewhere in there, 7. And we're playing. No, Tommy Emmanuel plays first because he's the acoustic guy. Then we play. Then the Helicasters play. Then I think it was Steve Warner or something like that, and Noki Edwards and so on and so forth. But here I am, I'm nervous as hell because it's kind of like we're debuting, you know what I mean? No one's really heard of us. And Tommy Emmanuel's out there, and I'm watching this closed circuit TV. It was at the Wild Horse Saloon in Nashville. I'm watching this closed circuit TV, and I'm looking at this guy, and he's doing one of these cascading harmonic things. And then off to my left, I look, and Jerry Donahue's to my left, and John Jorgensen's to my right, and I'm just like, oh my, it's just one of those things like, I think I'm going to poop my pants. I think I pooped a little, Seth. I think I pooped. But then, you just got to do your thing. And that's really what it comes down to. It's like, because everyone likes to, not everyone, but online, they always like to think that guitar playing is some kind of competition. And there's literally, it's like no one can outdo you. You just have to, and I can't, no one can outdo someone else. So you just be yourself and make the music that you want to make. And it doesn't really matter in one way, shape, or form. But that's difficult for people to digest sometimes, who want to make it into a athletic competition of some sort.
Yeah, exactly. We're over here throwing discus.
Exactly. It's not the Olympics of guitar. And that's one of the weird things. And I've talked about this a million times on this podcast. People are like, oh, here it goes again. Talking about the internet. But, the internet is like the best and the worst thing that's happened to guitar playing and music in general and life in general. Let's just be honest. But to me, it's the golden era of playing guitar, because all those different things that, I know you know what I'm talking about. When you were a kid, you're like, man, you hear about these different names of people, like so-and-so, you read someone in a Guitar Player magazine and they'll mention, or if you're in an open session with Carl Verheyen, he starts rattling off names and you're like, where am I going to find these records? You had to do homework. And now someone asks a question, I go, consult the Oracle. All you got to do is grab your phone and go, boop, 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 and there it is. Everything you ever wanted to know about this person, probably videos of they themselves showing how to play this shit and the whole 9 yards. So that part is awesome. And then, of course, the other part of it is that we have the ability to reach your own fan base without having of course, you still got to weed through the algorithm and all that kind of sweet shit. But at the same token, you can find ways to directly communicate with your fan base without having to go through some kind of gatekeeper. And that's awesome. But in the other token, it's like there's a lot of bullshit that's being, thrown out there. And I think also it kind of numbs people to the glory of it. You know what I mean? There's nothing like being in the room where it's happening. And if you're seeing it online, it's glorious and it's a cool thing, but it's not the same. And I don't know. What are your thoughts on all this internet skullduggery?
Yeah, you wouldn't believe how much comment section mediation I have to do about the stupidest shit. Oh my God. My favorite one, I was actually on vacation in Ireland. It was really funny. It was first thing in the morning, I read this whole back and forth between these two guys that were complaining about the way I had trimmed my beard for a video. Why does that even matter, guys? Oh no, I'm just out you go. And the main thing with it is don't take the bait. I get a lot of hate for how dirty my guitar is. And I'm a very damn the man kind of way of thinking. And I'm like, well, now I'm definitely not going to clean it. Go polish your Silver Sky PRS.
Right.
But yeah, I have to delete a lot of comments of people who are just either rude or inappropriate, or you get a life story at some point in the comment section that has nothing to do with whatever the video was about. So, dang, man. But it's just what it is. The upside of it is that I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I don't get a whole lot of gigs here. In town, it's difficult for me to fill a room, even a small bar, because I don't play country music or red dirt. That's just not what I do. So to reach people, most of the records that I have sold, and it's not been a crazy amount, but what I have sold, most of it doesn't get sold here in Tulsa.
Sure.
People that show up to my gigs in Tulsa are generally people I know. You know what I mean? Instead of being able to reach the entire planet with this device that's in my phone. Like I'm going to Spain in May to do a little run around there, and on my way back, I'm going to be on that pedal show.
Yeah.
That all happened because of
the internet
stick in my pocket.
Exactly.
You know, it didn't happen because either of those guys saw me at a bar in Tulsa. You know what I mean?
Right.
This doesn't happen. So, yeah, a lot of the really cool opportunities that I've gotten have been because I have maintained a social media presence. I got to play with Derek Trucks last year. That had everything to do with having a social media presence. They wouldn't have known to call me had I not maintained this since it came out, you know. And it's been for two purposes. If you can imagine that, you know, a guy that does what I do would want to go out and do product testing and try to get work that way. So that's what I see it as. And I go out and play guitar. They're like, well, hey, he plays pretty good. He might know how to fix one. Well, it turns out I do. So that's kind of how it's a 50-50 split online for my, what I post is, it's going to be building and repair and then playing. And people have really responded to that well over the years. It's how I pay my electric bill.
Yes. And it's a glorious thing without question. Yeah, and you answered a great question there too, is how you deal with the comment section. I've gotten to the point where, you know, I don't respond to negative shit at all. And you can't take the bait. And I'm convinced, I don't know if you've come to the same, because I'm sure sometimes you get a comment, you're like, this can't be real, right? And then you click on it, and sure enough, it's like someone with like one subscriber and it hasn't posted anything. And you're like, is this just bots that they want to instigate? I mean, not that there aren't genuine people that just don't like what you do. I mean, there's those people too.
Sure.
But usually, you know, a lot of the times it just seems to be rage bait. People just either are desperate for attention to get some kind of interaction, or it just seems to be random things that just pop up that are meant to engage. And luckily, I do not engage, as you just said. It's the best thing not to do, to just even take the bait at all.
Yeah, and it's like, man, I got fret jobs to do, neck sets to pull, and I got stuff to do, man. I'm going to be getting involved in that. I mean, it's just, you could eat an entire lifetime looking at that stuff. And it's like, I get in and get out, man. I'm like, I'm here you go. See you later. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Exactly.
There's a handful of people I go after to look at their content because I enjoy it. I like your content is always upbeat and enjoyable and informative. And it's really, I'm very purposeful with the time I spend online anymore because, man, it can eat your day.
No doubt about it. Yeah. And I like your attitude and the same thing I do. It's like, I turn the camera on, I'll play something, we're done. Yep. And then I load it up and get on with my day. And, you know, I mean, there are people that curate that stuff to the max, and they're really scientific about, you know, getting the most out of each post that they do and when they post it and how they post it. And
I've been following your son's been kind of explaining the ins and outs of that.
Yes.
Dylan?
And he's been doing a really good job. It's been very effective, especially for promoting the gigs and for increasing the mailing list and all that kind of stuff. So that's been fantastic. That's more of like streamlining, you know, how to use the internet to get people to support your music. You know, I guess what I was talking about before is like people who are really, their whole gig is monetizing their posts. You know what I mean? And I get it. And it's awesome because you can live anywhere and do it. And some of these people have made a fuck ton of money doing it.
I know. Look, I follow people that have the same kind of cat as me, and they're just they're smoking me, like financially, just exploiting this poor cat with
The Adventures of Cat.
I know, right? They got merch for the cat, and I guess it pays for all the cat's vet bills. So it's just, at least you're
There's that. How old is your cat?
This freeloader, she's 3 or 4, something like that.
Yeah.
That's the second one I've had. They're really a great animal. They're closer to dogs. The behavior of them, they're really funny. It's not like a normal cat. And you do have to wash them. The most common question I get is, do I have to shave her? And I think that's a really silly question to ask, because have you ever imagined trying to shave a cat?
Oh, no, that would be
It wouldn't be fun.
How about wet food? Are they eating wet food? Do you have to wake up in the morning and feed these beasts?
I give them it's a 50-50 deal again. I give her a little wet and a little dry, and that kind of makes it easier on me, because the last one I only did wet. That stuff's gross.
Ugh. So gross.
I got this stuff now. I add water to. It's less smelly. It's a much better deal.
Yeah, our cats are doing a thing now where they're getting more persnickety about the food. They've always been persnickety about food, but then we found this one brand that they'll eat, and we get these different types of the same brand. And now they'll and then they wake us up at 4 a.m. to get fed. Yeah, and so my wife and I take turns. It's your cat day tomorrow. Fuck. And I'll get up and I'll go down, and the boy cat's always mewing. He's like meow, meow. Where the girl cat, she'll just like sit on my wife's dresser and just like throw shit off. She doesn't really mew. She just like do that, or she'll go over by the lampshade or the window shade, just like going. So get up and we'll feed them, and usually that's it. You just take one can, one half, and one half the other one, and they'll sit and they'll start eating, and they'll leave me alone. I'll go back to bed. But then sometimes I'll put the food down, and they'll just go, "No, I don't want that." And then you're like, "Now what? It's 4 a.m." I told my wife, I go, "Listen, we no longer live in a home. We live in a cat restaurant, and I've had it."
Yeah, we're staff.
Exactly. I know people are listening to this right now. What the fuck are we talking about with cats? But if you have cats, you know. And I don't know are you allergic to dogs? I'm really allergic to dogs.
I probably am. I have one. She's a riot. I went to get the mail one day and came back with a very sick puppy. And she's a 70-pound monster, but she's a ball of love. She's just really, really friendly. Loves little kids and loves that little cat. But yeah, she's a mess. Big old pit bull, strong as a mouse. Just ridiculous. Yeah. I got a whole mess of tricks I can get her to do. I mean, she's basically a circus bear.
Awesome. Well, listen, my friend, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. It was awesome to talk with you. As usual, I'm looking forward to seeing you down in Tulsa. Hopefully this will come out before then, but I don't know for sure. One never knows. That is already coming up on, what do we got here?
It's the 23rd, isn't it?
It is the 23rd. Yeah, we're headed down. We're in Chicago tomorrow. And then we're in Madison, Wisconsin. And then we're in St. Louis. And then how far is Lawrence, Kansas from Tulsa?
It's not terrible, but it's a drive.
Yeah, we're there the day before. So,
okay.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. So I'll have Toby and I'll have Dylan along as usual, and we'll be rocking and rolling. But I'll bring my old Tele along.
Yeah, I got a crusty old one from =66 that I'll bring out for you to see. It belonged to a fellow named Mike Bruce that played with Bob Seger's original outfit.
Oh yeah.
My drummer's father was in that, David Teagard Sr. And he did at least one tour with Bobby Blue Bland with that guitar.
Oh, nice.
I got that thing out. It's a =66.
I'm a =66. So there we go.
There you go.
And I'm crusty. Yeah, that's right. But I forgot that Bob Seger's band was originally okay. Wasn't Carl Radle? Were they in the original?
Yeah,
of one of the Bob Seger bands. I can't remember.
I don't know. I don't know if it was Carl or not.
No, Carl. Yeah, because he went right from Delaney and Bonnie to Derek and the Dominoes, and then to Clapton, probably.
Yeah, man, they've got a bunch of Carl's basses and some of his road cases down at Guitar House at Tulsa on display. really neat to see that stuff. They've got JJ Cale's Basement down there.
What's that?
Got the weird like 60s Tolex with the little squiggles in it. Kind of looks like, Gretsch Tolex or something. It's interesting.
Hopefully that place is going to be open on that maybe on that Saturday before we head to. It's the gig's on Friday. Yeah, on the Saturday before we head to Nashville. I think maybe we should go over there.
Yeah, they open at 11.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's a neat spot, man. He's got a crazy lap steel collection too, all around the top of the walls there. Drew's a really interesting cat. He has curated some very interesting pieces, and not all of it is like Carl Radel stuff is in there. He's got some weird builds in there that are in the glass cases that are just freaky.
What do you hear from the Tommy Crook camp anymore? Do you know Tommy?
I don't know Tommy. I think he sits in with Shelby Eicher has a trio thing that they do sometimes at the Jazz Depot, and then another place I think is a restaurant. Tommy doesn't play as much as he used to.
Yeah, because he's got to be 75
at least
or more.
Yeah. I don't know. He might be 80 now.
I'd come into town. I'd see him at some Thai restaurant.
Yeah, Atlanta Thai.
That place is great.
Yeah.
It's a good joint. Yeah, I'll just never forget the first time I came there. I was the Fender rep at the time was a guy by the name of Jim King. Do you ever meet Jim King? This is going back a ways, and I may have done a clinic. I forgot where it was in Tulsa where I did a clinic, but we stopped by a place earlier in the day. This is probably 2001, by the way. We stopped at a place earlier in the day to look around that I wasn't doing the clinic at. And I'd come in and everyone's like, "You're going to go take him to see Tommy Crook?" I'm like, "What the fuck? Who's Tommy Crook?" And then Jim Sumner, man, he's a guy who used to play with Chet Atkins. Chet Atkins said he was, the hot shit when he was on the Johnny Carson show and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, "Oh, cool. Okay. That sounds great." And then we get to the next place and where I'm doing the clinic. And they're like, Tommy Crook's playing tonight at the Thai restaurant. I'm like, again, with the Tommy Crook. Okay, we're going already. And then I do the clinic, and one of the first questions I get, any questions out there? Yeah, have you heard of Tommy Crook? I'm like, for the love of Christ, yes, we're going to go see him. So then we go to this Thai restaurant, and we walk in, and I'm like, what is this place? And we sit kind of in the lounge area. And all of a sudden, I look up on stage, and there's this bass player who's got like a Fender, like Music Man bass, one of the old student model basses, and he had kind of a big gut. And he's sitting down with his, playing the bass. And then there's Tommy Crook. He had this, like early 70s 335 going through a PVKB 400 amp or whatever it was, and he had a little drum machine that was going through the other channel of the PV, and then there was some gal singing, and then he would set up the drum beat, and all of a sudden they'd break into some kind of lounge jam, and Girl from Ipanema or something like that, and then the gal would sing, and it was like lounge, and then it came time for the guitar solo, and he would, and it was like that Django knife to your throat thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then by the time the set was done, I was like, oh my God, what have I just witnessed? This is insane. And so he came over to the table that we were at, and because he knew Jim, and I looked up at him, I was like, Tommy, that was amazing. I go, do you have any CDs or tapes or anything? Meaning of his own, right? And he goes, well, I got Ernest Tubb tape in the car. You can't have that one, though.
Yeah.
And I thought, that told me everything I needed to know of why I hadn't heard of Tommy Crook.
Yeah. I mean, from what I understand about him, he didn't really have any desire to, go tour or make a whole shitload of records. He just, wanted to raise a family and, stay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all. The joy of playing is the thing. All the other stuff is just stuff you need to do so that you can play and be left alone.
Yeah, exactly. Totally way
All right, my friend, take it easy. We'll hopefully we'll get some tacos when I'm in town again. That place was pretty good.
Oh yeah, we'll do round 2. I think I'm gonna go for the pork belly again because
that sounds good. All right, my friend.
All right,
take care. See you soon. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Yeah, man.
Thanks once again to our friends at Fishman and to all you for checking out our show, which we call Chewing the Gristle. We're going to keep on keeping on. See you soon.